My guest already here in the studio seated, Ferdinand Ekoma, Special Advisor to the Governor on Media and Publicity. It's a pleasure to have you one more time, Ferdinand.
Thank you, Wisdom. Thank you for having me on the show.
All right, let's get started. I mean, today should have been one massive day in Abia State. We had expected that President Bola Ahmed Tinubu will be here in the States to commission the Port Harcourt Road project, which I believe is one of the milestone achievements of the current administration, isn't it? But he's not here, and that's because it was postponed. Beyond politics and the noise that is trailing the announcement of the postponement, what actually happened, Ferdinand?
Thank you once again for having me on the show. Well, like you rightly pointed out, His Excellency, the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, Bola Ahmed Tinubu GCFR, was billed to be in Abia today, being the 23rd day of May 2023, to commission the 2025 rather, please.
Oh, yeah, I understand.
To commission the Port Harcourt Road project, which is a strategic road project executed by the Alex Oti-led government. Of course, due to other engagements that had been, booked before this one, and they discovered that the president wasn't going to have the time to, attend to the other assignments before coming to Abia, and the government decided to put it forward. The issue of politics is a facade, as far as we are concerned, created by, the very reluctant opposition. There is no politics in postponement.
I mean,
no politics at all.
Some actually think that the fact that the president isn't here, when he had done the same for other states of the southeast.
One of the states I was aware that the day he visited wasn't the actual day he was meant to attend or come.
You do not think this is a setback or a tarnishing?
Like I said, the facade, I don't know what you mean by tarnishing. What is it? Well, it's people that are playing petty politics that are creating what doesn't exist. Okay, so Abia people must know that Abians are in a celebration mood. Abians are happy. If there is anything, we have people from different parts of the country, leaders, politicians, are starting to identify with Abia. And above all, the governor and the president have a fantastic relationship that has spanned decades. So it has absolutely nothing to do with politics. There are things I will not say, but the day after the president would have visited, there are things I will now disclose. The president knows the government better than most of the people that are talking, including some persons who are trying to create what doesn't exist. So it's not an issue we should even bother ourselves responding to those people. Okay. That's not one of the things we are ready to respond to. The most important thing is that Port Harcourt Road, which is a priority to the people, has been executed, has been completed. And a few days ago, the residents of Port Harcourt Road and the Abia business community rolled out the drums to celebrate Port Harcourt Road in what they termed the promise kept carnival. That's how the people feel. Promise kept carnival. That was what they named it. So, and if you were there, I'm sure you would have been very proud of Abia people. So, commission is just a secondary aspect of it. The primary thing, the fundamental thing, the most important thing is that so it got the road awarded to a very reputable construction company, and the road was executed. The road was delivered in record time. That is what matters to the people. Commissioning is just secondary, and like I said, the president will be here to commission the road.
Ferdinand, today is the 23rd of May, isn't it? And 6 days from today, we should be talking about the second year of the current administration of Dr. Alex Oti. What areas, from your own perspective as an insider who was part of the process, part of the current government, which areas do you think are milestone achievements of Dr. Alex Oti's era?
Okay, maybe before I go into that, let me just relate a few activities that have been lined up, to as part of the anniversary celebration. Okay. And of course, on the 25th of May 2025, there will be an interdenominational church service at the International Conference Center here in Oma here. Again, same day, His Excellency, the First Lady, Mrs. Priscilla Oti, will visit orphanage and destitute homes to mark this year's Children's Day celebration on the 27th day of May 2025. Same day, His Excellency Dr. Alex Oti will be present to celebrate with Abia children, during which we will take the traditional salutes and march past mounted by the children. Then on the 28th May 2025, the anniversary lecture will be delivered by no other person but Dr. Kari Dikakalo, former Commissioner for Finance in the old Imo State and the former Commissioner for Finance of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. And this will be followed by a wide broadcast the statewide broadcast by His Excellency the Governor, Dr. Alex Oti OFR, of course, on the 29th of May. That's when this will be holding. Before we now hold the grand finale at the Umuahia Township Stadium. And I'm sure you must have also heard that later today, May 23rd, 2023, Her Excellency, the wife of the Governor, Mrs. Priscilla Chidema Oti, will play host to the wife of the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, distinguished Senator Oluremi Tinubu CON, who will be accompanied by the wife of the Vice President, Haji Anana Shetima. They will be in Abia today, May 23rd, 2025, to launch her humanitarian outreach in support of vulnerable groups. These are some of the activities that have been lined up, to mark the second year anniversary celebration. And of course, in the course of these activities, in the course of this celebration, we will unfold some of the things to the public. We will unfold, some of the things this administration has accomplished in many areas, which of course are very visible. There will be documentaries that will highlight some of the things that the government has done. But then, to go back to your question, regarding what the government has done or the area the government has fared well, in line with our humble disposition, we have always preferred that the people will do the verdict, will do the assessment. Just like you saw 2 days ago, I was talking about Port Harcourt Road, what happened at Port Harcourt Road, and they named it Promise Kept Carnival. And where the very strategic road, the road that was in a state of dilapidation for close to 30 years, was given the new Abia touch by His Excellency Governor Alex Oti. I'm just a way of discussing the governor's performance in the area of road infrastructure. Of course, you will agree that was one of the areas the government declared state of emergency and got his team to swing into action. The results are everywhere for people to see. Discussing the Port Harcourt Road or using it as a case study, there are many, we call it economic activities. There are many things one can still remember about Port Harcourt Road. This is where you have at least 4 secondary schools. You have Umuahia, you have National High School and the rest of them, including private schools. During this period of decay and deterioration, those schools were abandoned. They literally stopped existing. If you were at Port Harcourt Road, you will see that the Umuahia, they remain, the structures, the remaining structures that were in a state of absolute decay, have been demolished completely. You can take a trip to Umuahia Secondary School as we speak. After this program, you can take a trip and see for yourself. The building has been completely demolished, everywhere leveled. The governor has already given an instruction for a new school to be built there and in record time. And if you go there, you will discover that they just completed the fencing of the place. The same thing is going to happen in the other schools that were in a state of dilapidation. You have the Odo spare part markets that completely was abandoned. Go there, you see massive activities. Even along that stretch, heading to flyover, you see houses that were abandoned, houses that were in decay. I mean, many houses in the hundreds that nobody was occupying, people weren't living in them. Today, you go there, just go there yourself, you see work going almost in all the properties there. You talk about the former Crystal Park Hotel, which was the most popular. It's a very massive hotel here that, in fact, most of the people that used to go were white people who were considered the elites. It was abandoned, it completely decayed because of the road. There are many economic activities, that disappeared as a result of the nature of that road. Of course, this affected the economic well-being of the people living in that area. People suffered. People really suffered. Churches, schools, factories, mechanic workshops, and all the rest of them, they all collapsed. Today, the people are happy, the people are excited, the people are... That's just one of the things. Of course, if you go to Ohanku Road, the same thing. Ihochi Secondary School, go there. I think the family that originally owned the school, before government took over and now it was handed over to them, I got a call from one of them. They are asking for government intervention. Ihochi Secondary School, as we speak, does not exist. That was one of the most important secondary schools in the entire Ndegoro axis, because that area is also classified as Ndegoro. The number of people living there, with the population you have there, the school has stopped existing because of Ohanku Road that was abandoned for decades. You have the Nkwangwa market. Okay, so you find out that because of the level of misgovernance you experienced in this part of the place, everything, economic activities collapsed. Today, go back there, just go there and see what is happening. Same thing with Obo here and the rest of them. So when you look at what the governor has done, you will agree that by the verdict of our people, not by our own verdict, that the governor had done a fantastic job. This Omar Hezua collaborator on Hafia Road that people are celebrating and making reference to travel from here to Alai Temi, they used to take between 2.5 hours to 3 hours. Today, 30 minutes maximum. You are in your village. Same thing with all the people, Abreba and the rest of them. Zuakole, Zutem, and the rest of them. Plus, some of them 15 minutes, some 20, some 25, some 30 minutes. You travel them, without hitches, and you enjoy it. And beyond, having these hitch-free movements as a result of the beautiful road that was built, the economic activities. Remember that one of the things that ignited rural-urban migration was lack of infrastructure in our rural areas. With what the government is doing, building roads, building primary health care centers, building general hospitals that will take care of the different senatorial districts, installing street lights, this is the best way to create prosperity. This is the best way to fight poverty. This is the best way to fight insecurity. Of course, that's one of the most fantastic ways to stop rural-urban migration. These are just a tip. This is just a tip of some of the things that the government has done in that area. Now you talk about security. Without doubt, except for the few occasions we had skirmishes, caught up some hoodlums that strayed into Abia. Because if you check very well, you find out that most of these criminals do not have their camps in Abia, except Law Panther, which, of course, on assumption of office, Governor Alex Oti ensured that the criminal architecture built there by this criminal, was decimated, was destroyed, and the hoodlums, most of them brought to justice. You cannot see any part of Abia that is being held hostage by criminals. And of course, this is in line with the promise made by His Excellency on assumption of office that no other territory, will be yielded to criminals and their sponsors, and that is happening, and that is why today, because of his Governor Alex Oti's far-reaching measures, Abians are enjoying relative peace in Abia State. Don't forget that on an assumption of office, he set up the Joint Security Task Force, codenamed Operation Crush, and of course, they led the success, the success that was recorded at the Law Panther. To widen the scope of what the government was doing in the area of security, the Security Advisory Council, chaired by the former Chief of Army Staff, Major General Onyabazuri Kenhejirika, was set up, made up of very accomplished, security experts, both the police, the military, the DSS, and the rest of them. They have experts there, and security is not something you discuss in public. If you know the enormity of the task they are accomplishing to ensure that Abians, are protected, that Abia is safe and secure, then you will appreciate the vision of His Excellency Governor Alex Oti. Just to make it very brief in the area of security.
Let's now check in on some of the things you have mentioned already. And in terms of education, that will be our first port of call. The government of Abia State under Dr. Alex Oti initiated the free education policy, and of course the subvention, or you could say stipends, going to the respective secondary schools or primary schools just to keep up with the internal runnings of the school. Can you convincingly say that this part of the government's promise to the people have been kept to the letter?
Yeah, it has been kept. But that is what I observed about the program, and which was why I seized every opportunity I have on a platform like this to expatiate on the issue, to enlighten people on how that works. Of course, this was an initiative of the governor. Why? Because having gotten information that a lot of pupils and students and now parents were being extorted by, the heads of these schools, the government now decided that having given approval for the implementation of the free compulsory education, we would want to ensure that nobody has under any guise to extort the students and their parents. Of course, that would make mess of the free tuition, the free education policy. So that was what led to the introduction of the running costs, what they call the running cost, which is now paid to the heads of school as stipend on a monthly basis. Now, a few persons have complained. The heads of schools and some persons from that. Some said we've only received once. Some said we've received twice. Some said we've not even received at all. And we've explained this. When you call it stipend, you are expected, or it comes in the form of interest, you are expected to retire it on exhaustion. If you are given 100,000 naira, you are expected to, of course, the money is supposed to be paid into the school account, which will be controlled by maybe either principal or headmaster and one other person, as the case may be. Okay, you are expected to receive this money, spend it, whatever activities that are for the rest of the school. Retire the money. That is how it's done. With the government here, nobody dashes you, gives you money. You just go and spend it without explaining how you spent it, and then come back to collect another one. That's why it is called an interest.
Is that the reason most of them?
That's the reason, and we've explained this to some persons. So follow the process, go to the appropriate authorities, request for this, provide the necessary document, the account details, and it cannot be paid into your personal account. Some persons presented their personal accounts, and then they said no, it doesn't work that way. Okay, this is what you do. Then you retire it. After retirement, you ask for replenishment. That's the process.
Let's move on to the issue of renovation of schools. You pointed that out, and you equally mentioned a few schools there in Aba that are currently undergoing renovation. And I want to ask you, if this is holistic, does it touch every other part of Abia State? Because I stay in Omwana, and there are several primary schools there which are in states of disrepair. I mean, if you go there, you would shed tears, and you can wonder the kind of learning environment these children who are future leaders of Abia State and Nigeria are passing through. Where are we with this issue of renovation of schools and perhaps re-equipping them?
Thank you. You know, it's not just the problem we're talking about. When we talk about the problems here being massive, of course, we are not complaining. We don't have any choice than to solve the problems and take Abia to a whole new level, different level. We are very much aware of the decay and deterioration, and that was why there was an approval for the renovation of schools, about 200 and something of them, and you have 184 wards. If the one you know, the work hasn't commenced there, it will definitely happen. The governor has prepared it for that. Yeah, of course, it's in phases. You are doing a lot of things at the same time. The most important thing is that the funds are provided. Don't forget that people will be there, that some are still bidding for some others. Okay, so it's a process. But the most important thing is that these schools have been, mapped out for renovation. You know, when we talk about the primary healthcare centers, some persons were having doubts. The pictures have started springing up from left, right, and center. And in the next 1 week or thereabout, His Excellency will begin to visit the local governments. We'll be commissioning one per local government, but we'll see the pictures of others. Some have been completed, some are nearing completion. So, and that was what we were saying. Even when people were saying all kinds of things, those who weren't informed, we said this is not a government of fraudsters. So if we say we are doing 200 schools, okay, and maybe you see a document where there is an approval, government, and in the budget reporting, you see so amount of money, and you now think that the government has collected money, it's a lie. This is not that type of government. So if you say we are doing 200 schools, they say just wait and see whether we do those 200 schools or not. That has always been our position. Just like you see the primary health centers springing up, that's how you are going to see all the schools mapped out.
You've delved into health already, and you've touched on one of the questions I had on my mind, but I'm going to rest that and move to the next one. How would you assess the current administration in terms of welfare packages for health workers in the state? Obviously, we have seen at some point protests saying we are going to down tools if this isn't done by the administration of Dr. Alex Oti.
Thank you. I'm sure if you followed what has happened in the last few weeks, you will agree with me that the governor has taken very decisive measures to ensure that the issues of welfare of the health care workers in the state, or health workers in the state, are properly resolved, are properly taken care of. On assumption of office, or even before Governor Alex Oti was inaugurated, I was aware that the Nigerian Medical Association were on strike for about 4 months. Of course, that wasn't the first time they would embark on strike. They had been embarked on strike actions repeatedly. So before Governor Oti, just about a week before his inauguration, the NMA, who had been on strike for over 4 months, of course, they reached out to me, wanted to meet with the governor. Of course, I did have a meeting with them. I did arrange and discuss with His Excellency. They did a press conference. Governor gave them assurances that all the issues, all the problems they were mentioning, that he was going to take care of them. Of course, we did a press conference here in Oma here. They called off the strike, and since then the governor hasn't disappointed them. Yes, the government didn't immediately start solving all the problems, but the problems were confronted head on. Okay, by paying arrears, they were happy, but they were still complaining about their welfare. And of course, the governor clearly understood that what they were saying, the demands they were making, were just germane. And now, I'm sure you are aware, just about 2 weeks ago or thereabout, His Excellency gave an approval for a new salary structure, which will see them be a par with federal, health workers. You know the impact of that. There's a way His Excellency operates. Some persons will hurriedly make promises they will not be able to keep, because you want to avert a strike action. You say, okay, I will pay this, I will pay this. Meanwhile, you've not been able to articulate the cause effects of the demands. You've not been able to ascertain the number of persons that will be affected, because you have a lot of other responsibilities to take care of. So it always makes sense for you to take your time, have comprehensive discussions, arrive at a reasonable understanding that the two parties will accept. Because if you hurriedly accept something you cannot keep, of course that makes you a dishonest person. Okay, so that was why we were careful, and now there's no other state in the southeast that has come up with, of course, prior to now, Abia used to be the lowest. Abia health workers used to be lowest in the southeast and one of the lowest in the country. But with this problem, we are number one. Sorry, with this implementation, we are number one in the southeast and of course among the top in Nigeria. Don't also forget to also reduce the burden of those working in our health institutions, and possibly arrest the problem of the Japa syndrome, where you have people migrating to Europe and America as health workers, abandoning our theater and our hospitals, which is a big problem. Because when you don't have personnel who will take care of you when you're sick, that's why you go to some hospitals, you see health workers being very aggressive. Even when you have emergency, they are not ready to pay attention, because sometimes they are being unnecessarily overstretched. So when they compare the monitor of the job they are putting in, therefore they are putting in, with what they are being paid, you see, it doesn't make sense, and that's why they get angry. And sometimes such things have resulted to deaths, avoidable deaths. So the governor really prioritizes the welfare of our health workers, which is why one is trying to create the enabling environment where our health workers work, whether in the primary or secondary or tertiary health institutions. He wants to create the enabling environment where decent places where people will operate from, where people will work in. Two, the welfare has been reviewed. Again, people have been paid regularly, health workers have been paid regularly. So the government is intentionally creating the enabling environment, setting the foundation, the platform where everybody will feel comfortable.
Into workers' welfare, it was at the heart of the promises of Dr. Alex Oti during the campaign period, and of course probably one of the core reasons the people elected to vote for him during the 2023 election. And looking at minimum wage at this point, should we then assume that because of the silence across the board, these people are happy with the way the current government has implemented the minimum wage, especially the fine margins there?
Okay, thank you. Initially when the new minimum wage issue came up, Governor Alex Oti was one of the very first, if not the first person, they said that he would implement the new minimum wage once the leadership of the organized labor reached an agreement with the federal government. So immediately that agreement was reached, within 48 hours, the governor directed that the meeting should be convened to meet with the organized labor in Abia State. Of course, we met with the leadership, where discussions started, over the implementation of the new minimum wage. So both the state, the representatives of the state government and the representatives of the organized labor came up with their own proposals. The governor looked at the whole thing in his wisdom, said that the thing was prepared in a way to favor only the high income earners. That is actually not how minimum wage is implemented. That most times it is done to kind of bridge the gap, to close the gap between the low and high income earners. So it was reviewed, finally implemented. Of course, the leadership of the organized labor observed some discrepancies later. They discovered that what was added to the high income earners, did not actually capture the consequential adjustment. So they weren't happy over it, and they rightly complained and wrote a letter, which the governor found wisdom in what they were saying and directed the further discussion should hold to ensure that nobody was cheated or shortchanged. And discussions, the whole thing jointly was looked at again, was reviewed, and all the errors were corrected to ensure that all the workers from level 1 to level 16 or level 17, as the case may be, will be properly taken care of. And if you've been careful, you will observe that since the review and final implementation of the new minimum wage and the consequential adjustment, there has not been no issues. If it was not properly done, of course the workers will not keep quiet. That's the truth. So we're happy that there was an amicable resolution and the implementation has gone on seamlessly. The truth is that Abia is in front at all levels, in all cases. Anything that would better the welfare of the people, not minding the fact that our case in Abia, because there's no state in the southeast you can mention that could be said to be in such a very terrible situation as there was. There's no state where you had such number of arrears owed. There is no state in the southeast. But today, Abia is leading at all fronts, and the people are happy. So I remember when we were negotiating with the workers, then during the meetings, they were saying that Enugu and Ebonyi, they started implementing NIMO. They mentioned that the three states have started implementing. I was laughing. I told them it's not true. I'm up to date with what is happening in all these states. So they will continue to argue. I said, okay. So 2 days after we concluded our discussion and agreement,
which the pensioners had with the Abia State Government at the time, and all of that has died down simply because of that day when the governor said, I am going to revisit this. Where are we? Are we looking at
it's being
is it happening in 2037? Or is it going to happen?
It's being revisited, and the implementation, of course, will start. Nobody's waiting for 2027.
After 2037?
2030. I said nobody's even waiting for 2027, let alone 2037.
Okay.
To begin resolving all the issues. So everything is being tidied up. It's the government that makes promises, and if the governor doesn't want to, he will stand his ground. But it's not in anybody's interest, especially when you are dealing with people that love you. Okay, so we are committed to keeping to every promise this government has made.
Let's move to human capital development now. As of January 2024, the government gave 1.9 billion naira grant to 66,000 residents, accounting for 6,500 small and medium-scale enterprises. Is the government following up on the people that received all these funds? And what has it done in the last 2 years, especially for artisans in Aba and Umuahia, in terms of helping their businesses to thrive?
Okay, so of course, government is following up, but you are dealing with human beings across the 184 wards of the state. Thousands of people. Some are doing well, some are keeping to, some are eating their money with speed. Some had eaten the money, even though it was meant to be interest-free loan. That revolving loan, I'm not aware if you have anyone that has repaid. It doesn't look like anybody wants to repay. So, but the government is doing the needful to at least to guide the people to invest the money.
Good morning,
good morning, my brother.
Have they, this position who awarded this road, we are told that this road was awarded initially for a cost of 9.8 billion. Have they tried to take at the exchange rate of 7 naira per dollar then? And if we take 1,600 naira.
Okay, so let me just, don't worry yourself, let me help you break it. Okay, so they admitted that they awarded, I'm not, this is not our own creation. This is their own admittance. That they awarded it at the cost of, in 2017, at the cost of 9.8 billion. And then, I'm also quoting them again, dollar was 333 naira. And awarded it at the cost of $22 million, which is 36 billion naira, and the road has been delivered. And meanwhile, the rent of the road is higher than the one you wanted to do. Where did our money go to? They knew we were going to do these maths. They knew we were going to do this calculation, and that we were going to ask questions. So that was why they started running to the media ahead of us to try to bamboozle the people. They will not run away from the questions we are asking.
Let's take another call. Good morning to you, and thank you. Good morning.
Hello.
Hello, good morning. We can hear you. Go ahead.
I assume he cannot hear us. Now, I'm sure you can hear me now, can you, from your radio? Fair enough. When you get through to us and you can't hear anything from our...
We're hearing you. Go ahead.
Just go ahead. Tell us what you have to tell us, including your name and location. Good morning, and thank you for joining us.
Yeah, good morning. My name is Fatima.
Go ahead. Go ahead. Good morning.
I'm so happy that Honorable President Ekoma is here to clarify this. And the work Alekoti is doing, even the blind man can feel it. So the deaf have already heard that yes, Alekoti has done well. This on the 2 years, he has done what the previous government could do for over 24 years in Abia. So we really appreciate the governor Alekoti.
Thank you. Thank you, sir.
The question that I want to just kick in, but it's not that you ask in this platform.
Okay.
Our traders, please, what is happening in Labour Party? Please clarify us, because we at the grassroots, we are confused.
Okay, thank you for your contribution. Let's take another call. Good morning. This has to be the last one. Good morning.
Hello, good morning, Mr. Fernandez.
Go ahead.
Morning, sir.
My name is Mr. Oma. I'm calling from my house here.
We faced distractions, we faced litigations in court. We never gave excuses. We faced governance, and this is why people can see what the government. That is why some people are wowed by what the present government has achieved. So we haven't laid the foundation because a lot still needs to be done in the health sector. A lot still needs to be done in the education sector. A lot still needs to be done in agriculture. And there are many other areas. So we are not going to slow down. If anything, our tempo is going to increase. We are going to see visible work at the site of the Edinburgh Hotel, being done by Radisson Blue. Of course, the medical city, which the president will also be flagging off here, $1.5 billion projects. It is not that the Abia State Government is the one attracting it, but the Abia State Government is not going to put a dime. Okay. We've created an environment. The people trust our capacity, they trust our record, and people are coming here to be. So going forward, what we're going to do is to face governance with commitment and dedication and sincerity, and increase the tempo at all fronts. Okay. So we'll come again, we'll take care of every other issues that have been raised. Somebody asked about the leave allowance. Of course, if you have gone on leave, you will be paid. And all these things. I
acknowledge Stanley Carlos' comment on Facebook, but this is where we draw the curtain. Let me sincerely appreciate you, Ferdinand Ekoma, for coming on the platform, the pinnacle of all discussions, the special advisor to the governor on media and publicity.